talking with Robin Jelinek. She channels the collective Athena in Truth, which began when she experienced a kundalini awakening 20 years ago. She now offers different courses and coaching using the knowledge she channels from this collective. Robin, this is extra special for me because I have followed your channeling for years. And so this is so exciting to have you join us. So we just want to welcome you and say thank you so much. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, Robin, as I mentioned in the introduction there, I understand that your journey becoming a channel started after you had a Kundalini awakening experience. Can you share with us a little bit about what led up to that experience for you?
Sure. I would say early on, even in my 20s, and I'm 65 now, if anybody's wondering, I was always on a spiritual path, really enjoyed the reading and the whole process of learning about all different types of spiritual topics. And then as time went on over that 20-year period till I hit about 43, that's when I had the Kundalini awakening. And that didn't actually precipitate the channeling experience. It didn't happen actually until a few years ago. I had an awareness or a knowing that it would happen, which is really kind of odd. I didn't really share that with anyone, but there was this knowingness that kind of comes with that Kundalini awakening. Not all channelers have a Kundalini awakening in order to channel, but those that do become fast spreading or ones that quickly get known. So that makes you an attractive candidate to a group of entities that want to channel through you. And so I had this knowing, and they have told me that they were probably in the vicinity back in my early 40s, but it's about timing. And I think that's, we were talking about becoming a channel. I wouldn't have been ready for it at that time. I think I held too much energy in the concern of what others would think of me. I was raising kids. We were running a business in a small town. So that whole picture of being a channel and being perceived as crazy in it probably wouldn't really fit into my life during that time. And so it isn't just you deciding, it's you and the universe together knowing what really serves you the best and what fits into your experience as far as timing goes. So during the next 20 years after that Kundalini awakening, I spent most of that time studying Kundalini energy and then working on my own, allowing a lot of Kriyas, trying to gather as much information and understanding as I could about the process. Weathered a little bit of a dark night of the soul myself for a couple of years. I actually had an activation come down through the top of my head 2 years after the first activation occurred. So I know now what I didn't know then is that I would become a teacher of this and that I would help people that are actually experiencing those types of things, because there is so much really to learn about that energy and what goes on inside of your body. It creates a lot of changes within you. You're basically giving another consciousness permission to occupy you alongside the one that you are as a human. And that consciousness has one goal, and that's really to clean the vessel out. It's to remove negativity or things that are stored within you that are actually preventing you from expressing in that high soul aspect of yourself, or that very satisfying way that you came here. Humans like to try to effort a lot in their experience and make themselves be a certain way or achieve something. And you can have some success with that. But creation was really meant to be effortless. It was meant to come through flow. And once you understand the process of how flow works and how you can actually make manifest in your life exactly what you want through flow without effort, without struggle, then it becomes fun. You don't really have to police yourself. You don't really have to be different than what you are. And those are some of the things that hopefully we'll get into today as we talk about this process.
So, Robin, I have a 3-part question for you. For those listening who may not know or have heard of Kundalini experience before, could you please explain exactly what that is, how that came to be for you, and how do you know that that's what's happening?
Yeah, well, we come into this earth experience and a lot of energy is coming from the other side, or what you would call the divinity aspect of yourself, or soul aspect. And that energy has to be condensed down. We can't bring in that high vibration into a lower density plane without some problems. So basically, we're kind of lowered down, and that energy is condensed and packed down at the base of the spine is where it sits. Now, some of the energy is leaking out, of course, or we wouldn't be alive, because it is a life force energy. And for most humans, we arrive in the 3 lower energy centers, which is called the egoic state. And it gets a lot of criticism, which I don't think is really fair, because we actually need our ego when we're creating in the 3 lower energy centers. There's not enoughness, there's lust, there's, needing to get things from others in order to have enough. And all of those types of perceptions and beliefs that come along with third density are related to being in the 3 lower energy centers, where I have to effort in my experience and I have to be better than other people in order to do that. And so that's just the perception or belief that we hold in creation. And so that therefore that's how we create. After you suffer for a while and you're in that situation and you long for something different, the universe serves you, and you start to move that energy up a little bit, leaks up into the 4th energy center, and you start to recognize that I can create from a place of happiness and joy and flow, which is a whole lot better than doing everything myself in efforting. And so that energy creates a new perspective, a new understanding, and you start to recognize I can actually think and feel in certain ways and bring things into my experience very quickly in a different manner without struggle. In 4th density, oftentimes there's some judgment and condemnation that comes along with it. It's like a transitionary stage before you get into 5th density, as that energy keeps expanding up inside of you by your awareness. That's actually what expands consciousness, is knowing or understanding of how you create. So it is understandable when you first start to recognize that you create through your thought and through your direction, that you would still judge and condemn a little bit. You still have some of the lower density emotions that are coming with you. Then after you're there for a while, you start to learn that you get a better result without judging and condemning yourself. You have this deck of emotions. You're allowed to choose any one that you want. There's no reason to judge or condemn it. The universe certainly isn't doing that. You might do it as a human. And that's actually where the problem comes in, or what you would call separation, disconnection. It's not coming from you being a bad human or someone being nicer than or better than you, or even a practice that you think you need to do. It's coming from your perception and condemnation and judgment of yourself in the way that you've chosen to feel in your experience. That's where the separation part comes from. When a human starts to bring more energy up into the upper centers and even goes beyond the heart center, they start to recognize that I don't need to judge and condemn. I can just surrender to what is felt and become a match to my source in the love of myself, in how I'm choosing to feel. And that's what creates flow. That's actually how the divine, it's always there knocking on your door. You have like a connection between you, the human, and you, the divine. And each one of those energy centers is a stream of flow that is sending and receiving back and forth between the two of you. Pretty much as a human, once you've felt your experience, you've done what you need to do on your end. The divinity part of you has received you in the moment that you have sent an emotion, and it has cultivated an experience, a circumstance, or a situation that would come to you automatically, provided you were a match to it. And what I teach and what I do in my activations is how to become a match to that energy. And it is through the love of self, the acceptance of what's felt. We don't want to judge and condemn, change, or effort anything. We just want to let the human be free to think and feel in any way that it wants to. And that doesn't mean it's going to stay in negativity. It doesn't mean that you're not going to become the person that you want to be. It means that you're surrendering to the divinity power of yourself to make that transformation for you. There is a knowing that a human has within themselves. And for me, I was very drawn to the energy centers. I knew that they in some way held the key. There was a remembrance there. And oftentimes there is. I was real surprised one time talking to my older son, who told me as a child he was running energy in his energy centers when he was little in bed. We'd never read a book or talked about it at all during that time, but yet he had that kind of wisdom or awareness that came through him. And I would say it was the same for me. As I got on the spiritual journey, I just started to wake up. I just started to have understandings that I didn't understand why I had them. And so I started to pursue breathing into my energy centers and reading about what could be held in those centers and prevent divine flow from coming to me. And the result of releasing those entrapments or emotions that are stored within the body, that can be yours or could be lineage or past life things that you've experienced, it lightens the field, or it opens it up to receive more divine energy. And that higher vibration is what causes that veil or whatever you would call is holding the energy down to open. And that's actually what happened to me. I was breathing into my energy centers. I had just stepped into the bed for a couple of minutes. I'd been doing it for 2 or 3 months, where I would I called it running the energy centers, where I'd breathe into each one, have a feel of them. I could tell if they were blocked, there would be like a heavy pulse or a throbbing, and I would try to encourage whatever was in there to be released. And this particular night, I hadn't even gotten into the practice very far. And it started with what I would describe as a strike of lightning. That's how Kundalini energy is an electrical feeling. That's what the universe really is. And that bolt of lightning, when it hit me, caused a spinning or a reaction in every one of my energy centers. They took off, and the loud noise of thousands of hummingbirds in the room, like a top spinning at a very high speed. That went on for several minutes. And then the actual rise, now I understand why they call it like a snake rising. I actually felt something within my body rising up and penetrating each one of my energy centers, hitting blocks along the way, backing up and having to hit again. So you cannot mistake it. It's like a freight train moving through you. So when it gets activated, you're fully aware. Some people have activated Kundalini happen to them and they're quite frightened by it. Maybe they haven't read about it and it was more of a spontaneous thing. And they will tense up, which could cause a veering off and a lot of suffering on the human's part until you get that energy balanced within you. So it's a good idea if you can, to have as much knowledge and understanding about that energy so that when it does take off, you're not too shocked by it, because it can be kind of frightening. It's so powerful. It's so loud. There's so many bodily sensations that go with it that if you don't have an awareness of them, you would probably shut it down by your panic state that you'd move to when it happened to you.
I can assume that you weren't afraid because you knew, because you'd already done the work.
Well, when it first took off, I was a little afraid, I have to say. I mean, I had no idea that it would bring that kind of a punch with it. But then when I started to hear the noise and I started to remember some of the things in my consciousness that I had read about, I told myself to relax and allow that process to happen. Otherwise, I think you could actually shut it down very easily.
Well, now I have a two-part question, because it can't just be one. What are the benefits of having a Kundalini awakening, and how could someone pursue that for themselves if they wanted to have that experience, or can it happen spontaneously?
Yeah.
Sounds like it did for you.
Yeah, it did. But we only have a Kundalini activation once in the evolution of our soul. So it could happen in this lifetime, or it could have started in a past lifetime that we can't remember. So everyone isn't going to get the dramatic rise. They might be picking up where they left off. Maybe they had the dramatic rise several lifetimes ago. I, for over 25 years, have been dealing with this energy and still am. I still have kriyas. I still have movement. I still have sit time where I can tell that things are being released within my body. And I don't think that's ever going to end. I think there's a never ending level of consciousness that we can attain. And there's no lid on that. There's universes upon universes upon universes that we could have access to. So it's just to understand that this is a process that there's no beginning to it, no end to it. It's a continuum forever and ever. So some of the benefits, and at first I didn't really look at it as a benefit because I did go into a dark night of the soul, but I've since learned that that's precipitated by judging and condemning things in yourself that you're shown about yourself that are responsible for your disconnection. And so you might talk about somebody, or you might do something that you don't deem as being spiritual. And then you move to this very thick, condemning, judging, not liking yourself, backsliding, criticism. And so that's what really precipitates the dark night of soul. It slows the whole field down, and the universe just peels off one layer of skin after another to gradually get through what it is that you're holding. The other option you have that I've learned now, having been through it, is that you can just be really grateful and appreciative when you do see something in yourself that is behavior that's unbecoming, that you don't really want to be exhibiting. And you just allow it, and you're more compassionate about it. And then the universe, of course, receives you that way, and it moves that energy very quickly out of your field with a whole lot less suffering than what you might do. So there are people who have Kundalini risings and they have no spiritual background to their remembering at all. And I would say some of them have a very difficult time with it, because some preparation is beneficial. And that's kind of what I try to do in sessions. And when I'm teaching people, the more negativity that we remove from the field, the less suffering you're going to have when your Kundalini energy rises. When it rises very quickly and you've not done that observation of yourself, you get a barrage of experiences that match what you're holding.
I didn't realize until you just said it now that a Kundalini experience only happens to somebody once in the lifetime of their soul.
Mm-hmm.
I find that fascinating because that's a very long time from what I understand. Given that, do you think that because you were sort of learning about all of this, did you were researching, sounds like you were reading a lot of books about it.
Mhm.
Is that what helped bring it on for you, because you had the awareness of what it was? But although you just did say that some people who don't have a spiritual background, have this experience as well. So I guess, how could somebody bring this on for themselves if they chose to? I mean, if they had the awareness to say, yeah, I think I'd like to try that and see what that feels like. I mean, you mentioned breathing. It sounds like breathing could be
Well,
one of the techniques, but
really, really anything that you accomplish as a human requires some concentration. If you're going to become a doctor, an attorney, whatever it is that you're going to do, you're going to put some study, some type of desire into it, and that's just a stimulant. Actually, is what it is. And so, all the reading and the studying that I did, I already had the desire to know more about it. I already had the love of spirituality and learning about it. But what I would say, not to veer off topic, is somewhere along the spiritual journey, it became not fun. It became a judgment, a condemnation. It felt like drudgery. Sometimes I remember making a decision a few times. I'm just going to put the books away and be done with it, because it didn't feel good to me at different periods in my life. But I realized that was some of the dogmatic things that have been layered onto this whole thing, that we have to be a certain way. We better not swear. We better not have a glass of wine. We better not like somebody, not realizing that the only way that I can create my experience is to send out a signal about how I'm feeling in it, what I prefer in it, and how am I going to do that without letting out how I really feel. So somewhere along the line, that concept in me got understood. As far as why exactly and when exactly a kundalini experience happens, I don't think anyone can actually delineate that perfectly. There are monks that have meditated their entire lives and not had it happen. And then there's people that walk out the door and trip and maybe take a little bump, and there's a set off. So it kind of debunks some of that. But one thing I have learned is that lightening the load that you're carrying in the energy centers really is a determining factor on assisting you. And most people that are drawn to that type of thing, or even to me, I show up on their screen somehow, it is the time for them. That's why they're actually coming across that information. And maybe they just need a little help in some areas that are sticking on them in their life, that aren't permitting their vibration to rise. So I can't tell you exactly if my practice is what made it happen, but I think it is the practice that worked for me.
it sounds like it's as random as winning the lottery.
Uh, well, is intention random? Is your belief random? Your perception is everything. When a human believes that they have this energy, when they read enough about it that they believe in the energy, so you're cultivating a belief or a perception in something, and that something exists, and then you drop into that stream of consciousness because you now become a match to it. So somehow, some way, that's what you're really looking to do.
That actually makes a lot of sense. So I appreciate that explanation. And thank you for sharing about the Kundalini experience as well, because I think a lot of people, it's a bit of a mystery and they don't really know what it is, or, what to expect. So I think this will help people really understand that a little bit more. And on that note, I've heard you actually share about this in the past, because I've followed your work for quite some time, and I'm just a big fan of Athena and the information that she brings through. And I've actually compiled a list of questions over time from watching all the videos that I watch, because I'm just so fascinated by the information. So I have kind of a plethora of questions to ask. And if you are willing to do some channeling, we would love to talk with Athena today.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, great.
We are ever present. So the minute Robin thinks about us, we are thought provoked. So there's no wait time or lag time in order for us to come forward. What is it that you have on your list today that you would like to talk about?
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Athena. We are excited to be with you today, and we appreciate your time. So my first question is, how do you know where you are on the vibrational scale? Is there a way to measure that? And how long do you have to maintain that vibration in order to draw the things to you that you desire?
Mhm. You will always know by how you feel where you are at. The signals that are being sent out in the way that a human expresses themselves emotively is actually what the universe is receiving, and immediately cultivating experiences and circumstances that are what you are going to be preferring instead of maybe what you have felt. you see. And so what we want you to understand is that coming into alignment, the very best way that we can describe it is to remove resistance. Certainly a human knows what it's like to drag a cart up a hill. Yeah, it's very difficult. And yet when they move into a conversation with someone and they start to feel that struggle, that weight, they continue for some reason to push in a direction that is not really satisfying to them or to the one that they're in exchange with. We want you to become very aware of how it is that you are feeling in your experience. And in that way, with that guidance system that you have, you will be able to determine whether or not you are in alignment and able and ready to receive what the universe has created. As far as it being a specific rate or an exact vibration, and how do you know if you're close to it or not? When you're bobbing all over the place, yeah, when you're up, you're down, you're opposing, and then you're agreeing, then there is a stalling time or a slowdown in the manifestations that you are wanting to achieve. We want you to know first and foremost that everything that you are wanting is cultivated the moment that you send out an emotion. So it is never a question of whether or not flow is available to you. It is. It's always there. Yeah. It would always be in relationship to what you yourself were holding, as opposed to what the universe had created for you. A human can hold things for all different reasons. Sometimes they don't like themselves in control, or perhaps they are jealous. They don't like that. Any type of an emotion that you are deeming as a negativity in yourself or condemning yourself for feeling or being is actually going to separate you from the flow or the ability to draw into your experience what you are wanting. There are some humans that will be very satisfied in some areas and not so much in others. And the reason for that is each one of those energy centers represent an individualistic part of your life. And so you might be doing quite well, let's just say in communication, and have very good exchanges with people in your truth and allow them the same. But yet maybe relationshiply, things would not be going well. You would have some things held there that perhaps someone had done something that violated you in some way that have caused you to hang on to things that are creating negativity in regard to relationships. The universe isn't trying to punish you. Is trying to notify you, hey, I got what you sent to me in the form of negativity. I would like to send you the uplifted version of it right away. Yeah. But it seems as though you're not going to let go of it. You keep sending it to me over and over again. So I just keep replicating circumstances and situations that represent what you are holding. Many humans will use others. Justification of what others are doing to them that are causing them to feel a certain way. And we would tell you that everything that you are feeling is something that you already have within you that has brought the experience to you that you are sharing with someone else, you see. And so the best thing that you can do is to remove others' circumstances and situations out of your purview when you are looking at an exchange that you are having that is not satisfying, and go within yourself and find out what you have in you that has actually attracted that experience to you. So it's not really about one day you were aligned and one day you weren't. It's a culmination of things. As a human starts to really hold on to things and not recognize them, let's go back to the heart center and say that you've had one poor relationship after another and you're very downtrodden and upset about it. The layers or the thickness or the level of emotion that you are carrying in that one center will begin to slow the center down to the point that it becomes dangerously low in its ability to draw life force energy into it. In this case, it would offload. It would start to transfer into another energy center because it is not able to support itself on the energy that you are allowing into the present one that is having a problem with. And so then pretty soon the same type of emotions that you were feeling in regard to relationships, perhaps they will move down into your work environment, or maybe into your physical form expression, the way that you express sexually, art-wise, dance, music. Those are all related to the sacral center. But what will happen is as we hang on to things longer and longer, they become more and more of a detriment to the system, slowing down the ability to draw in life force energy, which is always available, by the way, but your whole life will start to be reflective of what you are holding eventually if you do not get the understanding that emotions were meant to be felt and released.
Thank you for that. There's a lot of information to unpack there,
Mhm.
but I appreciate that. So if the universe does not judge our behavior as good or bad, then why is it considered to be good for us to be in a high vibrational positive state and bad for us to be in a lower state? Does the juxtaposition of a high vibe state equaling love and a low vibe state equaling anger, sadness, and fear indicate that the universe does have a level of judgment towards this duality?
The universe has no judgment whatsoever and does not view a high vibration or a low vibration as neither good nor bad. It simply depicts the emotional value and it raises it or matches it to the value of which it is a part of. And so it is not condemning or judging of what you are sending. It simply transmutes what is sending to the level at which it stands at, you see. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you so much.
Hi, Athena.
Good day.
I've had this question as I have been enlightened this year coming into this new awakening with Tara, who is an amazing energy and has brought all this wonderful stuff to me. It's a question that is on my mind, and hopefully you can give me some better understanding of it. If an abuser feels the power in abusing another, wouldn't that put the abuser in a high vibrational state, relatively speaking?
So we know what you are referring to because many people will come to us and say, well, certainly, you know, these people are bad, but yet they are profiting. They are not being punished for the behavior that we deem or we think should be punished. We had a client this morning that was bringing up something in regard to some relatives who are actually earning their money in ways that they deem to be not responsible or ethical, let's use that term, but yet they're profiting. She could not understand that. And we would tell you that the universe returns sovereignly based upon how one feels. Yes. And so what we would say is, and what we said to her was that the relatives are totally in alignment with their conduct and the way that they are behaving. And therefore the financial flow is not being obstructed because of it, you see. And so there we are again at right and wrong, aren't we? At good and bad, positive and negative outcome as you as a human would deem it, because you are on a contrasting plane. But in the divinity part or aspect of yourself, it is not looked at upon that way, you see. It is a replicating a universe that you are a part of, a duplicating universe that simply feels the expression that you yourself are sovereignly admitting, and that is what is returned on, you see.
Thank you. I'm going to go a little deeper on that one.
We're going to stop for a moment because we can feel you probably and your whole audience probably thinking, well, I don't really like that. Yeah. And we would say to you, well, you have a right to not like it, don't you? Send that signal to the universe and ask it for something different rather than focusing on what you don't like and getting more of that, you see.
Very well said. I did not like that. I did not like that. Yeah, so you just okay, so I'll go on to the next one. That's very good advice. Thank you. How does free will play a role in how we live our lives?
Yeah, there is an agreement between the human tool or vehicle that you are using that it is going to feel emotions and it is going to have its lineage that roll right into it with its chakras. Part of the lineage emotions state will come right through this, what you call inherited as humans, we believe. A lot of the sicknesses and illnesses that people are calling inherited are actually coming from emotive value that is transferred from one human to another through the chakras that come in with the offspring. Yeah, that's what actually happens. And so we veered a little bit from that. Would you re-ask us the question again, please?
Absolutely. How does free will play a role in how we live our lives?
Yeah. So the human has the ability to pick from a vast number of emotions, each one containing an intricate signal in the way that they feel emotively in their experience, by what they are experiencing, by what they have lived, and by what the lineage part of them is expressing. And so as they, from those places or points, release an emission of emotion of what they prefer in their experience is received by the universe and then transmuted and lifted to the high vibration of which the universe is at, which creates a very satisfying experience for the human. So as far as the source part of you is concerned, all humans are worthy and all humans are contributing to the expansion of themselves and the whole in a positive way. Of course, when you are held in negativity or you are upon the third density plane that you are on and you are actually feeling the thickness or heaviness of emotion, you have a tendency to get stuck in those things and then replicate experiences that in your mind or in your expression you deem them as negative. The universe does not, of course, see it that way. About free will. So what better person to be given the freeness or the free will choice to decide how they feel in the experience than the one that is actually in the flesh, bone, and body doing it. The universal part of you or the expanded version of you says, you go down there, you feel the experience for me, and then release what it is that you have felt, and I will rise that feeling up into an experience that I will then flow to you that will make you feel quite nice. Yeah. But what happens is, as we judge, as we condemn, and as we hold on to what it is that we simply send out as a signal, which is an emotion, we become lodged in it. And then we have to re-experience that same emotion over and over again. And the reason for that is because the universe is really wanting to deliver to you what it has created the moment that you felt something. But however, if you hold yourself in that same emotive state, you will continue to experience that over and over again, build the amount of layering of that emotion within your field, slowing down the draw or the flow of the universe to you, and therefore not getting to experience yourself as a God in form that you intended to.
I don't know why. I feel like you're talking directly to me, and I feel like you feel my pain. And I am stuck in this little spot right now, and I'm not really sure why. Oh my God, sorry.
Tell us the emotion that you are experiencing presently.
I'm not sure. I guess that sadness. I guess I'm stuck here explaining exactly what it's so weird. Like, I've asked you a question. I feel like, Athena, you feel like what I'm feeling right now, because you are going back to the emotional state, and I am trying to pretend I'm not in this state.
In the first-hand experience, that a denial of an emotion will expand it, won't it? Yeah.
Yes, I'm trying not to
The moment that you just allow yourself your sadness, the moment that you just permit yourself to emit the emotion that you are emitting. Presently, you are a little bit sad. Some humans get sad in the recognition of their own judgment and condemnation of themselves that have held them for a very long time. They look at things as lost time or regret, or why didn't I move from this sooner or quicker than that which I am? And in some form, we would say that your sadness is a little bit of a sense of relief. It's a little bit of a sense of understanding that you no longer need to move in the way of feeling of judgment or condemnation or perfecting yourself in some way. We talked about your channeling experience or the interest that you had in it. And really, that is determined by you, by your own worthiness, by your own agreement with yourself to actually achieve alignment to that which you have already created. The moment that you thought that it would be nice, the moment that you pursued the idea that perhaps you would do it, it was created in the divinity part of you or aspect of you, and it waits to enter the field for you. Yeah. But you must become a match to it. And to become a match to it, you must understand that you don't need to be any different than you are. You do not need to change. You have nothing to regret. There's nothing that you've lived wrong. There's no improvement that you need to make. And when you get this understanding, your sadness will soon vanish, and you will soon come into connection with that which you have already created.
Thank you. I obviously needed to hear that. I think it was the abuser question coming from somebody who is a survivor. I was just not ready for that. I wasn't ready for that answer. So I'm so deeply thankful that I guess, got permission to move on from that judgment that I have. So thank you. And I will move on. Here's one more question for you. How can you share about timelines and how they work?
Well, Robin has a little experience with jumping a timeline. Yeah. She went overnight practically from being a 61 or 2-year-old grandmother and mother and assistant to her husband throughout his life to jumping into this new reality, or a perceived reality that was timelines ahead of what she was presently focused on. Yeah. As a human becomes more and more aligned and their vibration rises, or they become more in love with themselves, let's just use that example, more accepting, less condemning and judging of themselves and others, the speed in the vibrational level of which they are emitting will allow them access to other timelines that are likened to the rise in the vibration that they have now brought themselves to. Yeah. So it is a shift in consciousness. To give you an example of how layers of consciousness work or different timelines work, things don't exist the same everywhere. So, for example, Robin experienced some telepathy. She's talked about it on a number of interviews. She was worried about it when we told her it would be coming, not only to her, but eventually as the plane lifts in its own vibratory level and humans become vibrated by it. Communication is going to change. People are all going to eventually become much more telepathic and hear the truth exactly of what others are thinking and feeling about them. And Robin thought this isn't going to be a good thing. Yeah. She didn't know whether she wanted to know exactly what her husband was thinking all the time or her children. Yeah. But lo and behold, what happened shocked her. She had a understanding or a download that came to her telepathically, and it was about her. Yeah. And she waited for the response. There was none. Yeah. There was no judgment. There was no condemnation. There was no anger. There was no rejection of what she felt. There was just the purity of it. And then we said to her, how do you like the feeling of that level of consciousness of which telepathy exists at? So in some sense, as you rise in your vibration, in your awareness of how you create, and in your love of yourself, because that's actually what connects you to the divine part of unconditional love. That vibration, as it continues to rise, brings you to higher levels of consciousness, and then other timelines that exist there that pop right into the one that you're in. And so what will happen is something that would normally trigger you, or something that would normally cause a response of emotive value without your conscious awareness of it, but yet still be creative in your experience. Something will happen and the response will not be there. It just won't come, and it will puzzle you at first. Normally, this would be something that'd be very upsetting to me. Normally, this would be something that I would emote to or have a reaction to. And what you find is in expanded levels of consciousness, as it lifts to the love state or the higher vibration of love, the emotions that you normally would pick from just aren't there. Yeah. So it's not about you becoming a better human or you choosing necessarily a better thought. It's about the universe not supplying you with the lower level vibrational thoughts that were once available to you.
I love that. Just being more objective, I would translate that into in my own words for myself. You did mention something a little bit earlier about time, and that's always a subject that fascinates me. So I do have a question about that. So I understand on the other side in the spiritual realm that we don't actually have time, that time doesn't exist. So what does that mean in terms of, is everything done already? I mean, if there's no time and everything exists in the now, does that mean everything is done? Every decision has ever been made that could be made, it has already been made.
The moment that expression, whether it be in the human plane or any other plane, is felt or is emitted, there is an expansion in the being and in the universe as a whole. So it is instantaneously, yes, in answer to your question, it is an instant expansion that occurs the moment that there is a deposit made or a emotive value offered. As far as time goes, yeah, in the realms of which consciousness exists, it is a never-ending, ever-expanding awareness that one holds when they are not in the body. And therefore, there is no aging, there is no thought about time. When we look at time, you look at it in measurements, minutes, hours, seconds, days, weeks, months, years of a human's life are measured in time. But when you are not in the body or taking any type of a physical form, those concepts no longer exist.
I don't know if my little human brain will ever fully comprehend that. Is creating your own boundaries considered to be controlling towards another? As an example, if you don't want to be treated a certain way, let's say, is that imposing your desires on the other person?
One in full connection or openness would never need to set a boundary or control anything that was coming to them. If you were in alignment completely with the flow of the universe and your source, you would simply not have an exchange with anyone that you were not liking the feel of. Yeah. So when people tell us that they are very proud of themselves because they have put their foot down and set a boundary, we would ask them, what is it that you are defending against, so that we may eliminate it from your field so that you no longer experience it. So it is to understand that you have full control over what it is that you experience in your experience, but you must be aware of that fact. You must be understanding that you create based upon how you feel. How do you feel when someone has entered into your field that is in violation of you? Once we uncover that emotion, we can quickly move to taking you back to a time where that emotion originated in your experience or in your lineage's experience, and therefore is still creative in your own, you see. So you have a universe that works for you. It will bring you absolute satisfaction in all areas of your life if you get into flow and into alignment with yourself by removing resistance. And by removing resistance, that would mean the full allowance of what others are also experiencing, with no need to step forward to change or make different what someone else is experiencing in their experience. That you hold a vision of love, that you hold a vision of what you prefer to feel in your own experience, and therefore provide that view to the world as a whole, so that they may too look at it and decide to choose it as well.
Wow, that was just a truth that totally just clicked into place for me there. So thank you so much for explaining that. That made total sense to me. So we also believe that the universe is teeming with life off of our planet, on our planet, everywhere. So since we know that there are beings not on our planet, and if that is true, are those beings subjected to duality for growth of their souls as well?
Mhm. Duality doesn't exist on every plane of existence, and primarily we are focused on assisting humans who are presently on a plane where duality is a part of it. Yeah, but it is not something that you will experience in every plane of existence that you are in. In regard to aliens, it is not a topic that we addressed very often or care to that much. Yeah, to be honest. But what we would tell you is that. Primarily, everything that is being experienced in the universe is available to all beings. It is not just an alien. An alien can express both as a human, as an alien, or as a tree. Yeah, it could be any number of things that have consciousness, and all things are conscious, you see.
What is karma and how does that work?
Karma gets a bad rap, really. Some people think that your behavior eventually is going to be returned to you. We would caution those that are thinking that way, because as they are feeling the negativity towards someone else's way of being, they are actually inviting that same negativity to themselves as they focus upon it. Yeah. Karma is cause and effect. There is something in your experience that has caused you to feel in a certain way, and therefore the universe responds in making you feel that way. It is plain and simple. It is not a form of punishment. It is not something that is placed upon you as a teaching. It is simply a replicating reaction of which the universe responds in.
Thank you. If someone is right now in a very difficult moment in their life and are feeling a lot of despair and just can't see a way out, what advice could you offer them to help them move into a better place?
When someone is suffering in their life, or they are stuck in an emotive value that they are having trouble moving from, the best thing that you can do is to not try to move yourself out of it. What we have taught and what we continue to teach is that your divinity aspect of yourself is pure awareness. So what does that mean? It means that as you invite yourself to view yourself in the way that you feel in your experience, you are inviting the divinity aspect of you to enter you, yeah, to actually start to permeate what it is that you are holding and assist you in the release of it. A human isn't always capable of doing that for themselves. They're caught up in the emotive value, the feeling, the senses, the things that are going in and on in the body and in their experience cause them to get stuck or lodged. All the efforting in the world sometimes cannot move a human from a place that they are lodged in. But what can move you is pure awareness or observation of what you are suffering in. So when someone is suffering, we tell them to ask themselves to look at themselves in their suffering. I see you are suffering. I see you are jealous. I see you are angry. I see that you are very downtrodden or feeling defeated in your experience. As you offer that immediately to the human, it will feel the love. It will feel the acceptance of what it has chosen to feel. And therefore, the field gets entered by the divinity aspect of yourself, which then helps to lift that energy off of you and move you in a direction that you yourself were not capable of. Self-observation is invaluable to expanding yourself as a human and connecting yourself to the divine aspect of yourself. You do not need to force yourself out of a feeling. You do not need to regret a feeling. You do not need to change a feeling. We want to make it abundantly clear that all feelings are permitted, all feelings are allowable, all feelings come from the divine part of you. And so once you adopt this understanding that you do not need to change or effort or make different anything that you have ever felt, that observation is going to penetrate that energy, and you are going to recognize that that feeling was sent out because there was something that you preferred that you were not experiencing.
Thank you. That I feel like I'm just becoming a better person talking to you. And I have
Well,
a lot to think about.
credit to that, but what happens is as you open, as you use your guidance system, and as you decide what it is you are hearing is permissible or not, you open your field, and the relief that you feel is your own energy entering in. It's not ours. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. So I have another question. What does it mean to be aligned with universal energy, and what can we do to get into this alignment?
Mhm. Oh, well, we have something we will read to you. How about that? Yeah.
Yes.
This is a declaration that we have given to Robin early on in our meetings with her. And this would depict what alignment is. If you moved in the ways that we are going to read to you, the universe would receive you in alignment and open the floodgates to you. Yeah. The declaration is, this is the way that you are to live your life. I give up, I give in, I surrender. I no longer oppose the things I do not agree with. I no longer judge the things that I do not like. I no longer condemn my comrades. I love life. I love all forms of life. I love my freedom. I create of my own accord. I allow others to create of their own accord. I reach alignment through sovereignty or individual creating. I am a feeler and a releaser of energy as a human. I am a creator based upon preferences. I understand that the universe responds to all that I feel. I am eternal and I do not fear death. I am healthy because I've chosen health. I am an individual creator, and therefore I could never be victimized in my experience. I expand my consciousness in my awareness and in my observation of myself. I can reach higher levels of consciousness just in observing myself. I attain mastery in the human experience through the love of myself. This depicts alignment.
I love that. That is so perfect, everything that was said there, and something important for us to strive towards. So kind of switching gears a little bit, Athena. So we are told that if we have an idea, that it means that that is a possibility for us to manifest that idea simply because we had the idea. So let's use the example of winning the lottery. So how long do we need to focus on something that we desire before we manifest that into our reality?
What a human feels that they need and that they want could be quite different than what the universe actually supplies them with or what comes to them. And it actually is what messes up their manifestation a little bit. There are those that maybe want to be professional singers and don't quite have the voice for it. Let's just use that term. Or acting, or some of the more difficult types of occupations, let's use that humans try to strive for that perhaps they are not quite aligned to. So what you have to understand is that the universe has you in the life that you're living. It has you in all the lineages that you've been a part of and past lives that you have lived. And so it has this whole package of emotive value, if you will, of a bank account that belongs to you. And then as you go on in the small life, or the little portion of you that is expressing as a human in the life that you are in, and it receives that deposit, it's factoring in many things, isn't it? It's not just factoring in what you are saying you think you need or want in that moment. And so what it boils down to is trust. What it boils down to is understanding the wisdom and the knowledge that the universe holds in regard to us might be greater than our own, you see. And so to state to the universe that I must have the lottery in order to be satisfied in my life may not actually match the bank account that is you, that is the continuum or the whole of you. Let's use that term. So that's how we would respond to that. But if it is a match, it would be delivered to you, yeah, through your focus, through your intent. But if you held any contrasting energy, any disbelief, and it's pretty hard for a human to believe in a 1 in a billion chance, let's use that term or example. So it's based upon how open is your field, not just in the area that you're asking for, but in all areas that it would pertain to. It can be a difficult task for a human to come into alignment with a request that is quite otherworldly. What we have done in the past with humans is we've told them to start by manifesting things that are very believable and perceivable to them, and build that muscle, build that trust. Maybe you decide that you want to see a red sweater, and you hold that focus. So Robin actually had this with an orange sweatshirt. Let's use that. She said, I don't even want an orange sweatshirt. Don't even like it. Yeah, but we said, oh, let's just use it for fun. Everywhere she went, she looked for it. She tried to effort, didn't she? That's what a human does. Had her husband bring her to all different towns, rattled through the racks looking for an orange sweatshirt, couldn't find one, looking, wasn't anywhere. Finally, she thought, to hell with this. There's no sweatshirt coming. One day, a box arrived to a monthly subscription that she had for ordering clothing. She'd forgotten all about the sweatshirt, which removed the resistance, opened the box, and on the top there it sat. Yeah, came right to her. So what we want you to understand is when you move to that type of effort, there's resistance. There's a need that is attached to it that actually resists what it is that the universe could just flow to you. Some of the best ways to manifest are in that not caring attitude, in that it would be nice, but if it doesn't happen, doesn't bother me. I am happy without it. Yeah. Robin has had this experience over and over again with many different things in her life. So our advice would be to those that are listening is to have some fun with it, because the universe wants you to enjoy. It wants you to have fun. It's very comical, magical. The universe loves to get a reaction out of you. So why don't you try to manifest some things that are quite comical and prove to yourself the power that you have to do that, and then gradually start to up the ante from there, rather than moving to something that is quite difficult for you to believe in.
It sounds like we have a personal relationship with the universe, and we have to trust the universe. We have to listen to the universe. And you also mentioned just that laissez-faire, like, don't worry about it. It will come if it's meant to be. And I often find that when you want something so bad, it's like that it doesn't come. And the universe has a way of letting us know what the next step is. And I always feel like just trust, like we're talking about manifestation, like you said, we can't be you're not going to be in alignment with being a singer if you don't necessarily have that tonation of a good voice. So I love all of that. And I think it's really important for people to hear, because sometimes we try to force a square in a round hole, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Well, one of the best things that you can do in your life is to surrender. And in surrender, you become a match to the divine, because you are surrendering to the understanding that there is a higher power or a greater outcome that will come to you in your allowing of it, in your belief of it. Yeah. And so there are, on a contrasting plane, going to be times where emotive value is going to be felt, and it's going to feel in your shoes as a negative, or something that is hard or difficult for you to go through. But as you hold the perception and belief in the universe and in its direction that it is providing for you, you will survive those outcomes, and you will rise because of it. Yeah. You cannot always see it in the moment that it is occurring, but by trust and by honorment of this source aspect of yourself, you will begin to bring into your purview what it was that you created by everything that you felt. Often as a human ages and they become older, not always, but in most cases, or a lot of cases, they become less resistive. And why is that? It's from all of the ups and downs and all of the things that they have felt, and they find themselves still standing. They find themselves still weathering or going through life, and all the things that they worried about. Some of them happened and some of them didn't. Yeah, but they managed to survive them. Let's use that term. It's one of the things when we talk in interviews to other interviewers about some of the negativities that are supposed to befall the earth in this rise that is happening, that isn't necessarily the way that it has to be. There is a universe that is created in positivity alongside of all the negativity that is going on. And as soon as humans start to focus in the direction of what is preferred, rather than what they are seeing presently in third density, they will get access to another reality that is already created, that is exactly what they want to see in it. Yeah. But the problem is in this right and wrong business, in this good and bad observation that you have, you stay focused primarily on what you are not preferring, and therefore don't get access to what was created by that.
We're hearing about the challenges that are in the coming years, and you kind of just mentioned it. Can you tell us anything about what we can expect?
Yeah. Well, challenges are creators of good things. Yeah. So everything that is being experienced in the way that it is felt is being transmuted and lifted. So as we told you, there is another reality that is available to enter your field, another timeline, if you will, another level of consciousness that is created in love, that is created at the vibration of your source, that is done at the same time when you are creating in density. There's two things that are actually going on. But the problem is, as a human gets focused in the dense form that they are presently seeing, they are not able to bring into form the higher vibratory experiences that are actually created by the density experiences that they have sent out them in. Yeah. And so it is just to understand that the most important thing that you can do as a human is to stand in your preferred way of being. Yeah. We tell humans that are afraid that are panicky when they hear the projections of what the future might hold. It's not about that future, because no one knows what the future will be until the future arrives, because the thought processes or the focus is changing all the time. Humans are shifting and changing what it is that they are thinking about, perceiving, believing, and therefore projecting out a different reality that changes immediately because of it when they align to it. So that reality isn't fixed, is it? It's something that is changeable or has the opportunity to change. And so we would tell you to, if you feel fear, you are being alerted about an emotive value that you have within you that's being activated. That's all it means. It means that I am not able to stand in my power in a direction that I want to see in the world. I'm afraid that others have power over me. I'm afraid that something's going to come into my experience that I have no control over. Well, we would tell you that there are two things going on. There is an individual reality that is yours, that you are creating individually, hopefully by things you love to see, that things you want to see, and then that would be added to your reality, and you'd create a cocoon around yourself that would be very protective of you individually. And then there is this outside reality, this mass conscious reality, of which you are listening to things outside of yourself that are making you afraid. Don't take the glass of wine, you're going to get cancer in 3 years. I love the wine, now I got to give it up. Yeah. And so I've got conflict going there, but yet I start to cut it off at night thinking about the disease rather than the enjoyment that I used to have in having a glass of wine. And so now I'm inviting that disease into my universe. I'm inviting that mass conscious belief to be part of or enter into my field. And so you have complete control. You have complete control over your health, over your wellness, over your financial state of being. You have control over all of it, but you sacrifice that control when you look at someone else who doesn't have it, decide to believe that this is how it is. Yeah. And then you offer that to yourself, and that becomes part of your reality. So we're never going to argue that studies are true, but those that are participating in those studies have the fear within them that matches the study that they are taking part in, you see.
Thank you so much for sharing all of this knowledge, Athena. This has been amazing, and we appreciate you. Do you have any final words for anyone listening?
We don't want you to be afraid. We want you to love and enjoy every moment of your life. The only regret you will have, and we promise you this, when you transition from the plane that you are in, is a moment that was spent in not love, is a moment that was spent somewhere else that was not contributing to love. So look in a direction of what you want to see and feel in your universe, and then watch the mass conscious as a whole, or at least those that are surrounding you, conform to exactly what it is that you are holding.
Thank you so much for that. We appreciate you so very much. And whenever Robin is ready, we would love to talk with her again.
Yeah, I'm back. That's fine.
Hello there.
Hello.
Hi.
So when you have those the channeling session, do you remember the things that you're saying?
No, it really fades very quickly. Sometimes a minute or two after a session, I might have some recall. By the time I take 10 steps back to my house, it's pretty much vanished or gone. And I really like it that way. There's some experiences that people go through that are pretty painful, and I think hanging on to them would not be a good thing for me. I'd probably end up creating some of those experiences for myself if I were feeling that way all the time. So I'm really grateful that it is this way. I've been asked by a number of people, like, where do you go, or what does it feel like? I don't even know how to explain it to you. There's like an awareness that you exist. There's awareness of yourself to some degree, but there's no necessarily emotional feeling, and certainly no good or bad or anything like that that enters into your awareness. That's how I would describe it. And it's a place when you're in it, the way I would describe it is, you know, you exist, but you exist without any turmoil or any negativity or concern, or any of the worldly events that you are normally a part of are not present.
That sounds amazing.
It
I'm
is.
always fascinated by that.
Sometimes you'd like to not come back, you know, you'd like to just stay.
Right.
And then,
Sounds like it.
you know, years ago, I had a spiritual experience where I came out of my body and saw myself laying on the bed. The question I was asking is, will I know who I am when I'm no longer Robin, when I'm past? Is that it? Are the lights out and I never existed? And in that moment, someone had some fun with me and sucked me out of my body. And then the voice said, well, are you still you? And I felt every bit uh, as much of the essence of who I am, but I could see myself on the bed, not able to move, not able to speak, but there was full awareness, and I think that was really comforting me to know that that whatever it is that makes you aware that you are continues. That part continues, but the attachments and the fears and the responsibilities and all of the things that we have that go along with life are minus that.
It's so funny that you say that because we also interview a lot of near-death experiencers, and oftentimes they talk about when they first exit their body and they sometimes look back on their body, and a lot of times they don't even recognize themselves. They
Yeah,
kind of say, "Who's that right there
that's
laying
right.
on the
Yeah,
bed?"
and I would
And
say
it,
very much like that. I looked at myself and I
mhm.
thought, "That's, I guess it's me. I guess it's me."
Yeah,
But
and
it's
then
the
it
same feeling.
makes it yeah, and then it just makes it funny to think about how we decorate our bodies in this life, right? With makeup, and we do our hair and the way we dress up and jewelry and the whole thing. And then like meanwhile, when we pass over, we're going to be like, who's that? We don't even know who this person is, but we spent so many like hours plucking and shaving and doing
Yeah.
all these things.
Absolutely. And we just, everything we do in life, we do for a feeling. We want to we want to feel a certain way. We want to feel attractive. We want to feel important. We want to feel something and that's really why you're here. So there's no need to condemn ourselves for shaving and plucking and makeup and all the things that we do to feel better in our experience. But yeah, it is kind of funny. And after having that experience, I really felt like that was a gift to me to feel. It really removes your fear of death, and I think I would liken it to, like you said, the near death experiencers. Many of them lose that fear of dying, and they realize that there's just a continuum. There is no death. You are going to know exactly who you are when you pop out of that body, the same as you did when you were in it.
Absolutely.
Robin, did you ever follow channelers before you started to channel?
Oh yeah, I
Oh,
started my reading in my 20s. I loved Sylvia Browne back in the day,
Hmm.
Uh, I've read so many hundreds and hundreds of books. I wish I would have kept them all, but I couldn't house that many books. And then what happened in my early 40s, actually just prior to my Kundalini awakening, a good friend of mine who really wasn't into spirituality at all, thought it was hocus pocus, but she knew all the things that I read about. She said, well, I don't know if you're interested, but if you want, there's going to be a channeler at our friend's house if you want to come. And I said, yeah, I'd love to come. I'm very interested in that. And I actually did. And I met her there, and she became a very good friend of mine. She ended up coming and staying at our house, and we took a lot of trips together, and we're still friends today. She's a channel. She's been doing it for over 25 years. And she's about my age, within a year or two. And yeah, so it was a concept to me that wasn't new at all. And I actually had a lot of sessions with her in my 40s that really awakened me to being more than just the human that I thought I was, and confirmed to me that we do live more than one life that we're in. There were many indicators, even by the books that I read. Was always interested in like the Gone with the Wind type books and movies and things like that, and so was my mother. And I had many past life experiences where I was actually in those gowns and during those periods of time. And
that's
so
cool.
it's really a revealing thing when people look at the books that they're drawn to read. Oftentimes they're coming from a subconscious level of lives that you've lived in the past, and it's an indicator of that.
Wow, that's crazy. It sounds to me like you sort of knew at a very young age that this was part of your life plan. Yeah.
Well, I don't think I knew in my 20s that I would actually become a channel, or I had any awareness of them. That really clicked in after the Kundalini awakening. That download or whatever came with that was constantly saying, "You're going to be doing, you're going to channel, you're going to be channeler." So I think that they were present maybe during that time, but as I said, that wasn't really good timing in my life. I had some kids to raise yet and a business to run. Sometimes I thought, geez, it came kind of late for me to be doing this now at the point that I'm at. But I looking back on it, I don't think it would have gone that well during that time. I don't think I would have had the time for it. And I certainly wouldn't have had the stomach for some of the judgment that you get early on. I used to worry a lot, just get despondent about thinking the whole town finding out what I'm doing. And now it's happened. It's kind of going around here right now in the Pacific Northwest where I am. People are just now finding out because we've only been here about 5 years. And in my other hometowns, it kind of ran through there a few years ago. But what's really odd is another timeline or another level of consciousness where it happens. And I thought that it would make me feel uncomfortable, but it didn't really matter to me anymore. So when a shift in consciousness occurs, what comes with it is new ways of thinking and feeling, which is really kind of wonderful. Things that you thought would bother you or things that you were working on, they just get gifted to you. They just come in that new level of consciousness.
Well, I think it's something that has become more widely accepted in recent times. And for me, it's never been something that I thought was odd or strange. Even from the very first time I heard about it, I thought, oh, okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense. And then I started getting into like certain people following the teachings, like back in the days of Seth and, the early Abraham Hicks and all of them. And, it's really the truth that comes through is what you can't deny. I mean, there's just universal truths that are just, nobody can argue some things that people are channeling, especially when the person who's channeling doesn't know that information. So that's kind of my, barometer that I judge by. But we're certainly happy that you stuck with it. And we really appreciate you coming today and talking with us and sharing your knowledge and Athena sharing her knowledge with us. And so we just want to thank you so much, Robin. And I know you have a book out called Choose Your Universe, An Exercise in Freedom, which I understand we can find on Amazon.
Yes.
And I know you also offer coaching on your website and you have a YouTube channel and a podcast. So you're a busy lady.
I recently started another website with one of my sons and it's called Athena Universe. And that's a little bit different than some of the other things that I do on the Athena in Truth. It's more regular transmissions that I think are better than my verbal channeling. Those go out quite a few a week. And then there are voice recordings that people get that want to stay on track. And one of the other options that I have on there is an Ask Athena question option. So if someone doesn't want to book a site or they don't need a whole hour, they can actually send in a verbal question and get it answered on the Athena Universe site. So that's something new that I'm offering now.
I love that. I think that's so great because you're right. Some people maybe don't have the means to do that either. So at least this way they can still get their questions answered. So that is amazing that you offer that. And we will be sure to include all the links for all of your social media accounts and your website in the description. So just as we wrap up here, Robin, do you have any final message that you would like to share with anyone listening today?
I guess the most important thing that I would like to share is sometimes when I meet people, they will make a comment that, oh, it's great that you're connected to source, or they will think that in some way I'm special. And I really want to debunk that. I very much am emotive being just like everybody else, things I like and I don't like. The only thing I've gotten better at is accepting what it is that I decide to send out in the way that I feel. I don't change it, I don't condemn it, and I don't judge it. That's what's really providing the connection. It's not about any form of superiority or the idea that I've somehow connected to something that someone else can't. We all allow that in ourselves through the love of ourselves. And it took me nearly 40 years to figure that out. And so if anyone listening could get that understanding, that would mean a great deal to me, that you don't need to be any different than you are. You can have every stinking feeling and thought that you're having, as long as you surrender to what it is that you're feeling and know that it's being received. And you can get the life that you want. You don't have to be perfect.
I love that. That's such great advice for everyone. And we just thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your gift with us today. And just to increase people's awareness with this information and expand their consciousness, I think is so important. So we just appreciate you and we appreciate all that you do as well. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you. Appreciate you for having me. Thank you.
Hi, Robin.